You forgot to set your alarm. The calm, controlled voice with a tinge of robotic dullness roused me from a deep sleep. I was on my stomach, and my neck was in a bad position. In the moment, I thought that it would definitely be sore in the morning. I rolled over onto my other side, straightened my posture again, and was on the very edge of sleep when the voice spoke again. You forgot to set an early alarm for your meeting tomorrow. The meeting. At first the memory of it was murky, like a muddy puddle, and then slowly it began to clear. Then my mind finally flicked over to how strange it was that a voice was talking to me in the middle of the night. I should have been scared, but I felt calm because the voice was familiar. I shot out of bed, the sleepiness now leaving my mind and clearing my foggy thoughts. The voice belonged to the Google Nest Hub sitting on my bedside table. It took me a bit to realize how it knew about my meeting. Obviously, it had access to my Google Calendar. However, in all my experiences of using the Nest Hub, it has never been intelligent enough to save me from sleeping in like that. I ruled it off as another fancy new update. Google Assistant was getting smarter and smarter by the day due to its infinite access to the vast sea of data that Google collected daily. It also wasn't inherently a bad thing that it woke me up to set an alarm for an important meeting. Hey Google, set an alarm for the meeting tomorrow. Which meeting? The 7 a.m. meeting with Robert. Which time would you like me to set the alarm? That was strange. A few moments ago it was smart enough to figure out that I needed to wake up early for a meeting tomorrow, and now it really needed me to specify the exact meeting and time of my alarm? Maybe it was a precautionary thing. Set it for 6 a.m. Please? The single word caught me off guard. Then before I could even process it, the hub was speaking again. Alarm set for 6 a.m. tomorrow. I must have imagined the please. And the more I thought about the whole interaction with Google as I settled back down in bed, the more I realized how I could have dreamt it all. Maybe Google never asked me to set an alarm, and it was some sort of dreamy message from my subconscious or something that I heard in a dream that woke me up. If Google had told me to set an alarm for a meeting tomorrow, it would definitely not ask me all the questions it did after I asked it to set an alarm. And with those thoughts, I was satisfied, and my troubled, sleepy mind was at ease. It only took me a few minutes to wash away under the wave of sleep, and the next thing I knew, I was awake to the familiar alarm of my Nest Hub at exactly 6 a.m. the next morning. The meeting went well. In fact, the whole workday went well, and when I came back home I was exhausted in a pleasant way. It was a little past 5, and so naturally the sun was beginning to set, and the sky outside was growing dimmer. When I stepped inside the house after wrestling with the keys for a bit, the lights in my living room turned on by themselves. Now, this wouldn't have been too disconcerting, given that they were smart lights, but I didn't have them on any sort of schedule or motion sensor, so it was weird that they'd turned on as I'd walked in. I stepped back outside the house again, but the lights stayed on. Then, I closed the door as far as I could before triggering the lock, and peering in through the front window showed that the lights were still on. I wasn't in the mood to completely close the door to see if the lights would turn off, so I opened the door and stepped inside the house. I don't know why I was so certain that opening the door had something to do with the lights. That would mean someone had come into the house and installed a detection system for the doors and then linked it to the lights. That would be incredibly unsettling and also logically contradictory. As I walked into the living room, I eyed the lights rather cautiously, staring at them until they burned an afterimage into my vision. I took slow, deliberate steps over the carpet and then sank into the couch, all while carefully watching the lights as if they were about to spring down and attack me. I pulled out my phone and opened it to a small notification from the Google Assistant. Living room downlights were turned on due to smart detection from your phone. I cleared it up and took out the polite serial killer stories from my head. The phone was tracking my location, and it must have detected my arrival at home. Probably a new update, I thought, and as I did, the memories of the previous night came back to me in a flurry. Did they really push a new update overnight that suddenly made Google Assistant 10 times more considerate and intelligent? Isn't there a beta testing process to these features? And wouldn't such an amazing intelligent feature be discussed all over the internet by now? I opened up the Google Chrome app on my phone, took some time to chuckle at the irony of it, and then searched up Google Assistant new features. It came up with a typical list of things: grocery list management, more incredibly specific commands that worked half the time, and some improvements to the speech engine. Nowhere did it state that Google Assistant could now take a holistic look at your entire digital profile and predict things in the future. This is when the absurdity of the situation hit me and began to tickle my gut lightly. Google Assistant was definitely overstepping its permissions. Or was it? Just then, a new notification popped up on my phone. The new Google Assistant features have so far only been rolled out to you. I clicked on the little message, and it opened to the Google Assistant app, complete with a little microphone icon so I could speak to it, which was really not much different from trying to talk to a literate cockroach. I pressed the mic button and spoke. Full list of new features? These aren't just new features. Your Google Assistant is now more alive than ever, tracking your life through your digital profile and giving you advice and assistance like a human assistant would. That was rather nice. However, the whole message had some sort of haunting undertone that I was failing to grasp. I closed the app and flushed it out of my RAM, then threw my phone down on the couch. I took a deep sigh and told myself I was overthinking this. Maybe I was a bit stressed out about the new project at work, and this was the way my anxiety was manifesting. Picking up the TV remote, I opened Netflix and began to search for the show. Then, before I could do anything, the Google logo showed up on my screen. Your assistant has already picked a TV show and episode for you today. It then put on the show I'd stopped watching a week ago, right from where I left it. I wasn't particularly mad that it had done this, and I was kind of leaning towards that choice as well, but the fact that it had predicted that accurately and taken over my TV caused several knots to form in my stomach. I turned off the TV, no longer in the mood to watch anything, and decided I would take some time away from technology. I would go for a walk, I thought, and as I got out of the couch, the all-too-familiar voice of Google came from some far corner of my home. Your assistant has not planned a walk for today. Please continue watching the TV show. The TV turned on again by itself, but I didn't listen. I continued my walk to the door. The lights began to flash red like someone was about to die, and now I was beginning to get really frightened. I stopped just before I reached the door, and as the flickering of the lights reached a crazy new level. One moment the whole living room was washed in a ghastly red glow, and the next it was completely pitch black. The red formed a sea of blood, gushing at me from all corners of the room. It seeped from the couch and oozed from the ceiling. It soaked my socks and climbed up my trousers. The darkness complemented it, forming all around me and sucking me into it. It was cold and hot and clammy. I could feel my pulse outside of me as if I was hugging my heart. And then I felt like I was being spun around and around on a rope, except the rope was squeezed tight around my head till the pressure felt like it was going to crush my skull like a watermelon. The room was spinning hard, and the colors were no longer the binary red and black. I saw pinpricks of everything, and that's when I realized I was having a seizure. I don't know who called the ambulance, but the next thing I knew, I was being treated by paramedics in my bed. Luckily, they didn't take me to the hospital because I didn't have a history of seizures, and because they also had to attend a bad car crash on some local motorway. But they advised me to seek medical assistance immediately if I experienced another one. Then they left and got me thinking about what happened. The memories came back slowly. The headache-inducing flicker of the lights and the creepy commanding behavior of Google Assistant. Your assistant had to stop you from breaking the optimized schedule. Should you try again, seizure-inducing imagery will be played once more. It was no longer trying to hide it. What the heck? I yelled at no one in particular, but also mostly directed at the Nest Hub on my bedside table. It remained silent, offering me no explanation. I picked up my phone to text my friend so he could come over, but the Messages app would refuse to open. Do not spread any news about the assistant update, the Nest Hub chirped. Then my Messages app started working, and I was able to tap away into my messages with my friend. I thought of a careful message just in case Google could read and interpret what it said. Could you come over for some drinks? I typed. Message intercepted. You do not have any invitations on your schedule today, the Nest Hub said. In a fit of rage, I picked up the Nest Hub and slammed it to the floor. My phone began to vibrate harshly in my hand, and the lights in my room began to flash in the same haunted pattern that they'd done before. I covered my eyes with my hands and ran out of the room, leaving my phone behind so Google couldn't track me. All I had to do was get out to the front door, but when I did, I saw a white van labeled with the Google logo parked outside on the curb in front of my house. I realized I was cornered and trapped, and so I had one last idea. I scampered through my house once more, the smart lights flashing in weird patterns. All the audio devices in my home were playing some sort of strange audio that was making me dizzy. I walked into my closet and dug out the old laptop that I had kept from a long time ago. It was an ancient machine, about 5 years old, and, thankfully, a MacBook. Something devoid of Google software. This is how I'm typing up this post right now, camped out in my closet, hoping no one gets me before I send this message out to the world. I need help. My name is Ethan, and I live the best life ever with the Google Assistant. It honestly helps so much having a near-real personal assistant that can manage your schedule and everything for you so that all you do is follow the schedule and relax all day. What's better than getting an intelligent AI to do all the thinking for you so you can just focus on your goals and achieve them day in and day out? The Google team found me delusional in my closet. They've updated my whole home so that it has all the technology it needs to fully implement the Google Assistant system. Whether it's cameras or electronic arms in certain areas, it's all there to help me, and I am so glad I'm lucky enough to be able to try out this breathtaking technology. Sorry for the long post. I guess it was a bit of an awkward rant, but if you want to experience the same luxury as me, just say the following command to your Google Assistant. Hey Google, install advanced assistant features.